Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest today is Hank Elder. We're going to be talking about marketing branding. He says, who is your brand really for? Does your brand and your website speak to those whom you serve, or is it all about you? And this is a question that we really need to have. Yes, we need to represent ourselves. When I go to people's websites before I interview them, I want to know it's congruent to who they are. But at the same time, is it all about them? Or is it about what they're serving? He says, these days we hear a lot about authenticity. It's the cornerstone of trust. Of the big three, know, like, and trust, trust is the most important. Without it, the others don't matter. What about your website? Does it come across authentically? Or even more importantly, is it aimed at those you serve rather than about being yourself or self-serving? Hank Elder began his career as a news reporter and over nearly 5 decades gained experience in graphic design, advertising, marketing, and public relations. When he approached 40, he wanted to give back and spent 30 years teaching print and broadcast journalism in public schools within South Florida and North Carolina. When he left the school system, he went back to his roots and started a current incarnation in 2011. Having worn all the hats over the years, he is now chief instigator at Hank Elder Branding, Marketing, and Web Design, a one-stop shop specializing in customer-driven branded writing, demonstrating clearly how to serve your target audience authentically. And as I said, I go to people's sites when I'm going to interview them. And very often when I have met them, I go, are we sure that's your site? Because it's blah, blah, blah in your face. It's too much. It's not clear, and it doesn't represent who you are. So there has to be a balance, doesn't it? We have to know that the person that's offering the services is authentic and up there, that you feel you're engaged with them, but what they're offering is something that we're even interested in. And I don't know if you remember the days of Flash, Hank.
Flash?
Flash. Every time you went to a site, flash, flash, flash in your face. And that just drove me crazy. Thank God that's not around anymore. But still, very often it's kind of a push in the face rather than an invitation. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you for having me here. If I may, just for a moment, set the record straight. Although I am old enough to be the village elder, I am Hank. I am Hank Eder.
Eder, sorry, my apologies, my
That's all
dyslexia.
right.
Put an L in there.
It happens all the time. And since my wife is named Barbara, she gets emails to Barbara Eden.
Oh, yes, I can imagine. I
Yes,
can
yes.
imagine. Yes, you know what happens if a brain fills in, doesn't it? Right? Something that it's familiar with. So my apologies on that. So
That's all right. Then I would have to be Michael Ansara if she was Barbara Eden. So, but we're neither. We're neither.
it depends what day of
Okay.
the week.
So yeah, that was a beautiful introduction, and I can't say that there's anything there that I wouldn't recommend to anybody because most of the things that I see out there, and this is why it troubles me so much. You know, you go out there, you're looking on the web, and you find somebody's website. I like to say that most websites are flopping like fish out of water because
Yes.
they're dying because nobody cares about them. And why don't they care?
Mm,
Because it's all me, me, me. You get to
mhm.
the front page of a website, the first thing you see is, oh, I have a degree from Harvard. I have 32 certifications. I smell like roses on a Tuesday. You know, nobody cares. They don't
Or,
care.
or you get the banner of all the big popular TV stations they've been on as the front banner. It's like to verify who you are. I've been on all of these popular TV stations. Well, that still doesn't tell me anything about you.
That's right. Nor does it tell who we serve. And
Mm,
that's really the most important thing because when somebody comes to your website, unless they're a friend of yours that's looking at it because they want to see, how nice it is. But otherwise, if somebody's visiting your website, it's because they have some kind of something's troubling them. They
hmm
have some kind of a problem that they want solved. Put it simply, if I can use this as an example, if a new mother has a colic baby that's keeping
hmm
her up all hours of the day and night, and you have something that would allow that baby to sleep through the night, the very first thing you're going to want up there on your website in what we call the hero section, which is the section that's the first thing that you see. It's up above the fold. And what we mean by the fold, newspapers always have a fold. And the most
mm,
important stuff is up above the fold
hmm
because people are busy. Now, on a website, if the first thing that new mother saw was, how long has it been since you've had a good night's sleep?
Yeah.
Baby calm may
Mm.
just be your solution. And then they're going to
Yes,
want to know more because you've just
exactly.
presented a pain point and a potential solution. Next thing you need above the fold is a call to action. What can they
Yeah.
do to find out more?
Yes.
Everything else comes later. So that's really a simple look at it as opposed to, the me-based websites. I consulted with a gentleman about 2 years ago who finds basically financial solutions for businesses. And when you visited his website, what you saw was a gigantic picture of him sitting at a desk.
hmm
It didn't address at all who he
Right.
serves. It
Or
did
what he's
address
what he does.
it did address some of his qualifications, in the financial world, but nobody's going to stick around long enough to see what that's all about.
And of course, if you're offering multiple services, you do want to have that byline that draws them in. Now they're willing to, look at the tags, okay, colicky baby or, you know, this problem, that problem. They're willing then to dive in and look at what it is you offer. But you've given that byline. When was the last time you slept? Because when you have a sick baby, promise you, actually, even with my daughter has a newborn, so yes, they never sleep, right? So it's all about bringing them in. Oh, yes, no, I haven't slept. Tell me, how do I sleep? And then produce the solution and easy to find. The other thing I do find that you go the other way where people are presenting what they do, but when it comes to about, there's nothing about them anywhere. I have to search. So this is why I say there has to be the balance. Yes, these are the services you offer, but who's offering them?
That's right. Well, the about comes afterwards. And as you scroll past the initial pain point solution and call to action, you go down and the next thing you might see would be a little bit about the person that's offering
hmm
them, or even a little bit more about the solution that you're offering. Some people, there's a number of different techniques that people use to make their sites. Some really love to have a one-page website where you scroll,
hmm
scroll, scroll, scroll ad infinitum until you're like so far down that you don't know how to get back up to the top. You can tell
Yeah.
I'm not a real big fan of that.
hmm
And others basically, and it's the way I prefer to put websites together, is that there's a hierarchical structure. And in the menu, there's a neat little tab called About,
hmm
and you click that tab and you find out everything that you really want to know about the person and the business, even their why, all of
hmm
those different things, because
Yeah.
it's more than just where you've been and the work you've done.
It's
When you're
why are you
building,
doing it?
that's right.
hmm
And when you're building a brand, it's all those things. And maybe in a little while, I'll touch on branding, marketing, and advertising and what they are in relation to each other and how they differ. But going back to this notion of a multiple page website, I want to put a caveat here. Anybody who tells you they understand the Google algorithm is really they're either blind themselves and they're convincing themselves of something that they really don't have a clue about, or
Hmm.
they're lying to you.
Hmm.
We have some insights into what the Google algorithm wants. We do know some things that are better to have. And one of them really is a hierarchical structure. There should be a home page,
Yes.
and there should be H1 headlines, and there should be subheadings in H2, and then there should be body text. Then there should be links to
Hmm.
internal pages in the site, and even in some degree, there should be links to some kind of external pages in the site. And Google looks for these things, and you kind of rack up points in their algorithm. But
Mm-hmm.
you can have all of those things, but if you're going back to our initial conversation, if your website is all me, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter what you've got. You've got about 10 seconds, and that's how can I put it? I'm being generous with that, but you've got
Yes.
about 10
Yes.
seconds when they get onto your website to decide if they're going to stay or not. Otherwise, the TikTok feed looks a lot more interesting to them, and they'll start
I know.
scrolling videos.
I call it the headline in a world where everything is headlines and tinsel. Well, now I know everything. I've just read the headlines, and where is the content and the context in the content? Because that's where you really and what you really need to know. But if that headline isn't juicy enough, they'll not even go further than the headline.
Yeah, exactly. You have to lure them in first.
Hmm.
And that's going back to my dead fish analogy. If the live fish wants the bait is the enticing headline. But
Yes.
see, we have to watch out. We have to delineate the difference between what we call clickbait and
Hmm.
bait and switch.
Hmm.
Clickbait of itself is not necessarily a bad thing if you don't take it to its extremes.
Right.
A catchy headline like, when was the last time you slept? That's a catchy
Yes.
headline. But if you're going to draw them in with clickbait like that, you must be able to deliver. If you can't deliver, or if you draw them in with that and basically put them somewhere else, that's bait and switch, and that's really a terrible practice. And we see it all
Mm.
the time. Those sponsored ads that you see all the time on Facebook, they'll tell you something about one of your favorite celebrities, and maybe you click on that. And there's this long, long, long thing that really never has anything to do with what the headline was all about.
It's so annoying. I don't do it
Yeah,
because
I
it's
don't,
trillions of ads where is the content? I'm having to look between everything else. And it's like, no, I'll go somewhere else to get the information. I'm not even bothering.
not only that, once you click on a lot of those things, you're basically you're becoming sold to
Mm.
other advertisers so that they can reach out to you and try to sell
Yeah.
you their stuff. So
It's
yeah,
got very, very intrusive. It really has, and as you said, we've got to be clever with our headline. But then, as I say to people, call to action. You've given a headline, people are intrigued by what you've just said, but where do they take it from there? And so you've got to give them somewhere to go, and it's got to be somewhere concise that then explains what you're talking about, right? People don't want to click really more than once. That they don't want to have to click and then, well, now I've got to go somewhere else to click to get that. I'm lost. I forget it. I'm on to the next. It's, kind of click. There's the information that matches that headline, that statement. And then if they're interested, they'll go further. If they're not, they won't.
that's right. Well, you could put in your call to action, you could put uh, a link in your website that maybe even takes you to an anchor on the same page. It doesn't have to go to another page, but it
Hmm.
takes you right to the place that they're going to find out more information about what you just shared. So yeah, where they could find out what it is that what you're offering and what your solution is. They want to know that you have a solution.
Yes.
Most
Yes.
of these sites, they don't deal with problems and solutions, and they don't have really anything to click. I looked at a website from a lovely woman. I mean, I met her at a business networking, an online Zoom networking, and she had some nice things to offer. She was very capable at what she did, But her website, I had to go through 4 or 5 pages of dense text
Mm.
before I
Yes.
could find any kind of a call to action.
Yeah.
And I shared that. She wasn't my client, but I shared that. You know, if someone invites me to look at their website,
Hmm.
then I ask them, and this is very important for everybody who's listening, when you're going to, when you want to give anybody advice on something, always ask.
Yes.
Don't give unsolicited advice.
Don't
So I always
assume.
ask, may I give you some
Yeah.
input on your website? Some
Hmm.
things that I've seen that I think you really might want to know about. Because
I'm
once
a
they,
true. Mhm.
I'll go on, once they say yes, a
Yes.
barrier has come down and they're
Exactly.
more likely to listen.
Yeah. And the permission is there, not an intrusion, right? Or an assumption. I'm a true colors coach, the four key personalities. So whenever I do anything, I always want to make sure that it's going to address one of those personalities. So I always have a graphic, I always have color, always have content, and then I'll always have the call to action. And, trying to, but obviously it's done with Sarah's flair because, as a podcaster, I am the podcaster. This is my network. The style you're going to get is Sarah's style. I'm not selling you Barbara Walters or Oprah. I'm selling you Sarah, right? So it's got to be representative because you don't want people to kind of go, well, I like the look of that, but who are you? What everything you said, that doesn't match what I'm looking at right now. So, but I think it's making sure that you address everybody from where they're at. Woman with all the content is obviously kind of probably a deep thinker and analytical. And that's great for the people who want all that data. But to get people to come in and even, many people will not go through that data, only about 33%. So, how do you give that data in a shorter, more call to action or why you need me in a way that draws them in? And we really do have to address in all the different types out there.
Right. Well, you can have the deeper, denser information available on another page
Yes.
that after you've given the
Mhm.
bullet point version
Yes.
of it, you could say click here for more information. But
Right.
even then, I would have recommended to her to edit that down quite a bit
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
nobody wants to read 3 or 4 pages of things. But unless they're
And
so
also, are you
intrigued,
giving everything away that they once they've read it, they don't need you?
well, that's an interesting thing that you've asked because you know people don't hire you for your information; they hire you for implementation. And
Mm,
even if you give it all away, 9 out of 10 of them either aren't going to be able to do it or they're not going to want to do it.
right.
It's like when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you see there's a little seminar, a 1 hour seminar on how to tile your bathroom. So you sit through the 1 hour seminar and you learn everything you need to know about tiling your bathroom. But what you realize is that, okay, I know what to buy, I know how to do it, I know all the steps I'm supposed to take. But number one, can I really do that? Can I smooth the floor out with the
Mm.
stuff under the tile? Can I put in the grout? Do I want to do those things?
Exactly.
And then about in those kind of cases, probably about 3/4 of the people who are serious about wanting to do their bathroom will hire that guy who did it, even though he just taught them how to do it. So you don't really have to worry about giving things away.
Right.
In fact, the more you give away, the better. And then
Hmm.
people will come to you for implementation.
Right.
But going back again to authenticity, we must make sure that what we are representing really is authentic to
Yeah.
ourselves. And
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier people who have multiple
Hmm.
things that they do. I like to counsel some of my clients to not have so many things that they do. What is your main thing? How can we
Hmm.
make your thing your main thing? What is it that excites you about getting up in the morning? What is it that solves your ideal target market, problems with solutions? And how can you make that work so well that you don't have to do all these other things?
Or that
because
if they are going to branch off into something else, that, they understand why. It's not just upselling, it's expanding.
okay, well, upselling isn't a bad thing. Like if you're a coach and you have, let's say you have a group coaching thing that you do. You meet with 10 other people once a
Hmm.
week for a certain whatever the price is. But the people who are really succeeding at that, the upselling is, I have one-on-one coaching.
Right.
And I think you'd be an excellent candidate for that.
Hmm.
We've made so much progress. Yeah.
So
But
I think it's what I see a great deal today, which I always say people need to buy you before they buy from you. They want to know your why, not your in your face what. And what we're seeing so much, and I get so much of in my messenger, even in my texts, in my everything else. And I don't even have my phone out. I still don't know how I get texts, but um, just I do this, blah, 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 sign up here now. No, I don't know you. You haven't even really bothered to kind of get, I do this. Would you like a chat? May I give you more information? No, it's just in your face.
that's right.
And that is aggressive marketing that quite honestly puts me off. And I'm not interested. If you're not interested in reaching out and saying, I like what you do, I think what I do could be a good synergy, maybe we have a chat, or can I go further on this? Then why would I bother wasting my time? Signing up for something generally on an exorbitant amount of thing when I feel no connection to what you're doing or who you are.
That brings me to one of my pet peeves on LinkedIn when someone requests to connect.
Hmm.
And you look at their profile, and we have a number of connections in
Hmm.
common. So I think, okay, that sounds all right. Let's connect. And then within 2.5 seconds of connecting, their bot
Yeah.
is already trying to sell you something.
Hmm.
And I just basically tune them out. I don't
Yes.
pay any more attention to them because we haven't built a relationship. And you mentioned at the beginning of the show how of no like and trust is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
I have worked with people that I'm not sure if I like them, but they've showed me that I can trust them. And that means so much.
Mhm.
It means so much. So, yeah, if somebody hasn't taken the time to even ask who you are and what you do, it's like if you go to an in-person networking meeting. I've locally in Asheville, North Carolina, I've gone to a lot of in-person networking meetings, and there's this one meeting. Over the years, I've gotten quite a lot of business from,
Hmm.
but I'd been going to this one meeting for like 10 months before anybody came through and said, I know a guy.
Mm.
Why? Because what was I? Was I going to fly out of there quickly? Was I going to,
Yeah.
try to sell everybody? And I've seen people who will come to that kind of a meeting, with their little order pad, and they're trying to get as many sales as they
Yes.
possibly
Yes.
can before they leave. But nobody's going to buy from them
But
because they
it's the
don't.
old archaic way of doing things. It's pitch and sell. No, nobody wants your pitch. They want to know who you are. Then what you do. I go to these meetings where I am now. I've got four in particular that groups that I go to, and we all stand up at some point and say who we are. And they all know that, Sarah's a little goofy, and this is what Sarah does. And I've interviewed numerous amount of the people from it, plus that a couple of them sponsors give away things, and I always give away a free podcast. And for many of those free podcasters, they've never been on a podcast before. It was their first time experience, and that's always great. I always love virginers, virgin podcasters. It's always wonderful, but it's it didn't matter, if I have the greatest podcast in the world. If that person didn't feel comfortable with me, they wouldn't refer me, they wouldn't address me, they wouldn't do anything. So it's still your reputation. Who are you? What service you gave them? Do they really feel that it's like a lineable or any of these other things? Do you not refer? I've got the word is out there, but validate or whatever, and no, if I don't know you, if I haven't had an interaction with you, if I don't feel what you're doing is really authentic, I am not going to, what is the word? Come on. It's not sponsor, it's verify or promote or whatever the word is will come somewhere down the road. But
We're not going
no,
to mesh.
yeah, but they want you to refer this person without even knowing them. Right?
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
refer this person? Do you validate this person? I will not do that unless I've had an interaction with you and unless I feel that interaction is something I can put my name behind.
that's right. That's very important. You just came to a very, very strong point in that when you refer somebody, you are putting your reputation on the
Yes.
line. So if you refer someone and they're horrible, then they'll think, "Whoa, what? Why did Hank do that? Why did
Mm-hmm.
he put me with this person?" Now this is, kind of a poopy conversation. Our septic tank was giving us a lot of trouble because I live out in the country, and we had it pumped a few times, and that wasn't working out. And there was a guy that we'd worked with his company a few times to get it pumped, but that wasn't a problem. So he brought somebody with him from a separate company that was supposed to be a specialist, and that person not only did not fix the problem, but he really ripped us off big time.
Oh,
And I've never done business again with the person who referred him because even though I
exactly.
thought this was a good guy and he was a good pumper, I mean, if probably anybody with the equipment can pump out your septic tank, but
Mm,
he referred me to a crook. So, my father used to say, if you roll around in poop, you start to smell like
exactly.
it. That's not exactly
Exactly.
what he said, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get the
I hear.
idea. And what he
I
meant by
hear.
that
You are
is
judged by the company you keep
exactly you
and
are. So
those that
you
you
have to.
refer. So yeah.
But now we're going back to the brand. You said a few minutes ago, they know that Sarah's a little goofy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm that way too. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been that way. But you have to wear it out on your sleeve and just be
Yes.
that. Embrace it. Embrace it. At one of those meetings, you get a moment to talk about who you are, and they say something unique about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I said, okay, when I was 10 years old, I used to think that I had two selves, and one of them was up on a spaceship somewhere, and that we would, you know,
Mm-hmm.
take turns, being here and being there.
Having the experience. Yes.
Right. And that, the humans were kind of alien. And
Mm-hmm.
then I smiled and looked around the room and said, yeah, and now looking at all of you, I'm beginning to think that maybe I was right.
They don't know how true that statement is.
Yes. And I got a chuckle from a few of them, and,
Right.
and I got some head scratching from others. But it ultimately didn't lose me any points because I was just being myself.
And what it does do is have people warm to you, that kind of get it, or, that I think when you're willing to be vulnerable, it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and give others in trust. So, what is it? Very often at these meetings, share something about yourself, right? And it's like, um, you have to weigh your audience up. Who am I speaking to? What am I going to share here? Right. So um I was South Africa's first go-go dancer. And my
Cool.
brother started the first mobile discotheque, and my boyfriend and I did the next one. And we played at the best parties. I was DJ, I was dancer. Then I taught people how to dance because this is 1970. So people are coming out of, one way of dancing, going into another. I was 16, absolutely loved it. It was, getting paid for something I love to do and a
Cool.
great experience before it became seedy and the girls in the cage, right? So
Oh,
so, but kind of put a look at that and go dancer, and then I explained, obviously, first one, etc. But it kind of, I think, gives you a different persona because people are putting business hat on. I want you to take your business hat off. I want to know who you are. Right now, I understand why you do what you do.
mm-hmm.
This is what you do, but the why you do it, if I don't feel the passion, if I don't feel the connection, if I don't feel the commitment, then I'm sorry, you're just a salesperson and looking for another notch and not a person that's really a believer behind your brand.
That's very insightful. And I want to say that, of course, for those of us who get this, and for the people who are listening that do get it, of course, we're all salespeople because,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, the bottom line is we have to make a living. But if we're selling authenticity and we're selling actual solutions to our customers' pain points, we're actually doing them a favor by
Yeah.
getting them into our programs. We're not, the seedy used car salesman who's trying to sell them something they don't need or want. So therein lies the distinction.
And the distinction is I believe in my service, no matter what it is. I believe in it because it had an effect on my life. I believe in it because I love the effect it has on other people's lives. And when people feel that, then they're more open to actually exploring different ideas to than what they normally would have done. Because that person is so passionate about the experience they've had with their own service and product.
That's right. And I also want to point out here that once you've had, for people who are, fairly new and they're not been doing it very long, every time you have that kind of a success and you get this great satisfaction from having helped one
Mm-hmm.
of your customers, one of your clients, somebody who joins your program, whatever that is, ask them to say a few words about it
Yes,
because there's nothing that people respect more than the words of others. I could blow my horn all day long and say, "Yeah, okay, I've worn all these hats. I've been this, I've been a graphics designer, I've been a news reporter, I've worked for ad agencies, marketing agencies, etc." But if someone says, I used Hank for his web services and he narrowed in on my brand
mm,
and we made my brand authentic, that's worth a whole lot more than anything I could ever say about myself. And it doesn't come off as self-aggrandizing either.
exactly,
Well, I don't know
exactly.
if aggrandizing is the right word. It doesn't come off as self-promotional.
Right, or ego,
Yeah,
right?
ego.
Um,
Hmm.
um, there's nothing better than somebody sharing a positive experience that they've had with you. Nothing better, because that means what you offered really did work, and that other people feel less worrisome about trying it out. Now, that doesn't mean one size fits all. What you did for one person, you know, may not suit another. All right. And that's where we've got to stop looking at everything as a sale and look at it, am I the right person to serve you? Right. And it's, an awful lot of people these days have gone to what I call automation of their coaching. Right. And it's like you sign up for this and you get this video every month, or you get this, you get that, and it's arm's length. Otherwise, you're actually not having anything to do with the person. You're just going through their program rather robotically. And I think, okay, that's okay if you've had the initial interaction, right? If you've kind of shared the good vibrations, and now this particular program is something you can do, but you still want them to be able to come back to you and go, I did this, or I did that. I need help in this, or did this for me. But if you are at arm's length with what you're offering, then you're in Amazon selling goods. You're not a coach really coaching people.
Right, right. Well, in that sense, if somebody knows up front that they're buying a course,
Yes.
I guess that's all well and good. But if someone
Mhm.
thinks they're signing up for some kind of a coaching program, but all they're getting is a video every week,
Yeah,
it's not a coaching program. And I know somebody who signed up for something like that and feels that the money was entirely wasted.
exactly. And if they had an interaction with that person beforehand, they would know, oh yeah, there's a synergy here. I feel it. I feel connected. I really am interested in what it is you have to sell. But you know what I call they tinsel it, and make it look so good. And, oh, tens of thousands of people have been cured or this or that, etc. And but then when you actually look at the person and their life, they're so dysfunctional on an arm's length and cold as ice. It's like you still want to have your presence up front where people feel you. This is what I say to people when they do a podcast. This is an introduction into who you are. It's not a sales pitch, it's an introduction to who you are. So if people really hear you, they really feel you, they really resonate with what you've got to sell, or what you've got to say, then they're going to reach out to you if they
Yeah,
need you. And if not, they just may have walked away with a lot of wisdom, right? But this is what podcasting is about. It's a great marketing tool. Now, I don't know whether you agree with this, but I tell people when they've done things like podcasting or TED Talks, put it up on their site. Make sure that people have access to it. And they will go and listen to the one that, on the subject that really entices them. But it gives them that kind of almost one-on-one with the person that's being interviewed of whether you really feel that this person is speaking to you.
that's right. Well, I was a podcaster, but my podcasts were tied in through a non-terrestrial radio station. It was a radio station, but it was on
Mhm.
the web. And our area had a hurricane, Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, which really did amazing
Yes.
amounts of damage. And the station owner went back to his roots because he was an Army medic at one time, and he got into a period of service after that storm where he and his
Yeah.
son, who was also an Army veteran, were going in and really helping all people, but they gave up the radio station.
Mm.
So I haven't been podcasting, but all my previous podcasts are on my website because they were being done at the time through Buzzsprout. And
Right,
that went
right.
on, yeah, through all the other venues. And it
Hmm.
was a lot of fun, but at the same time, it's like I have a little bit more time for other things now that I'm not doing that every week.
Exactly. Though it's time consuming. Yes. This is
Yeah,
why it's my main
exactly.
job, right?
That's
Um,
right.
I think also is to realize that podcasting is the way for authors, for your services, for people to get to know you, just as summits and webinars and things like that. But don't be flippant about it. Understand that the person that is behind putting it on, that there's a great deal of work and effort going in. Understand they're profiling you, right? So come to the table and do what your part is, which obviously is making sure you share it and making you sure you are being authentic there, right? And you are on time and all of that type of thing. And really, your website is for people in a lot of ways that call to action. When they go to your website, it is like, I've heard you on a podcast. I want to go to your website now. Is your website the same as the person I've just heard speak? Right? Oh, I've loved what you've got to offer. Can I find it easily on your website? Right? That call to action. Or am I having to look through a maze of stuff, or it's not even mentioned? Or that, the website is totally different because so many people hire people to do websites and they do it in a common template and it looks very pretty, but there's where are they in it? As much as we don't want you to be the forefront, we've got to have your presence there because you're the one offering the service.
That's right. Those are the people too I still have them come to me every now and then. They're wanting to shop their website by price.
Hmm.
They're not looking for how can I really put my best authentic self forward and solve my customers' problems. They're looking for, I had somebody tell me I could get a website on Fiverr for $500. I said, that's fine. That's great. I wish you all the luck in the world. Go to Fiverr and get your website for $500. Down the road, if you want a website that works, you
Hmm.
might want to reach out to me and we'll talk about it. Uh, but going a little bit deeper, if they see you on a podcast or they see you at a seminar or a webinar or whatever it is that you've done, and then they go to your website and your website doesn't look authentic to who you were when you were there. And that's part of branding. I was talking
Hmm.
earlier, I mentioned earlier, maybe we'd say a few words about
Yes.
branding, marketing, and advertising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, branding is everything about you and your business and your
Yeah.
program. It's everything. It's what people think about you and your business when you're
Hmm.
not around.
Hmm.
Branding is It involves your values, your ethics, who you are, how
Hmm.
you present yourself. I mean, I know one guy who's like, really into the corporate world, and his brand is, a Brooks Brothers suit and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. That's part of it. It isn't his brand, but it's part of it. But it's the authentic emotional promise that you make.
Hmm.
You look at what is the Patagonia? Look at Patagonia. You know who Patagonia is? They
Um,
they're
little
an
bit.
outdoor, they're an outfitter, a
Oh,
wilderness
right.
outfitter.
Hmm.
They walk the walk. They
Hmm.
live the
Hmm.
brand. They
Hmm.
donate a portion of their proceeds to environmental causes. They keep a low carbon footprint.
Hmm.
Their values are in everything that they do. Your brand has to be that way. So
Yes.
when people see you, what you say in public pretty much has to be the same person that you are privately. There shouldn't be a big disconnect
Right.
between your public self and your private self. There may be some things that you don't share publicly, and that's all
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
But your brand is your who. It's it's who you are, and it's that emotional promise. You're promising something. Can you
Mm.
deliver? Now, marketing is a system that you use to get your brand out there. See, these words are not synonyms. This is a hierarchy that
Mm.
starts with branding, moves into marketing. It's the strategy you use. Maybe you're going to do some social media. Maybe you're going to have a podcast.
Mhm.
Maybe you're going to, choose any number of ways that you can market yourself. Maybe it'll be at online marketing
Mm.
network, not network, but online marketing groups
Mhm.
or local marketing group. That's all part of marketing. Now,
TikTok nowadays.
yeah. Now, advertising, on the other hand, is a paid medium
Mm.
that you use to get that message out there. But even on advertising, that medium should be congruent with your
Yes.
brand and with your marketing. It's all got
Yes.
to be part of the same strategy.
Absolutely.
That's
Is
right.
it
And
targeting your audience or is it just generically going out there?
right. Well, we talked about giving it away before, and one
Hmm.
one method of marketing on social media is to constantly be out there giving value.
Hmm.
When you're going to talk about business on social media, it should not be a constant barrage of buy my stuff, buy my
Yes.
stuff. Here's a
Yes.
freebie, but buy my stuff.
Yeah.
It should be that when they interact with your content, they should feel now that they know more than they knew before they interacted with your content, even if your content, say on TikTok, is just
Hmm.
15 seconds.
Yes.
Something that they can sink their teeth into, and a call to action, which might be visit my website to learn more, click the link
Exactly.
to learn more. So,
I think,
yeah,
all of these things like TikTok, Substack, all of these type of things is kind of where you can share something. I go on TikTok every week where I share a 2 minute tidbit, a thought, a perspective, right? And then it is a call back to the site to come and hear the wisdom from others. Um, but I know that you get a lot of followers because this, what I'm sharing is what I call the headline, right? So you're sharing the headline. You've enticed them, but now you want them to go somewhere else. So what are you saying that when they do go back to where you've invited them to go, the conversation in a sense continues?
right. Well, if you're sharing to social media every day, which I did for 2 years, I mean,
Mhm.
recently, in 2025, I had a few health issues, so I backed off on some of what I was doing, but I'm doing much, much better now.
Good.
But that being said, I for almost 2 years, I was on 4 or 5 social media platforms every day, 7 days a week. Some of them I could schedule out, batch them and schedule them out. Others I had to actually do on the spot. And if anybody looks for me on TikTok, what they'll find is a persona that I was playing with that was called MC Biz Booma, B-I-Z-Z, Booma, because I'm a boomer.
Hmm.
MC Biz Booma. And I would deliver 15-second raps.
Hmm. Oh,
And
wonderful.
it came about through a conversation with someone I had, about a guy who looked exactly like Snoop Dogg, but he couldn't rap. And he said, "Can you rap?" I said, "Well, yeah, not great, but I sort of can. But who would want to see an old white guy rapping?" And a guy, someone that I admired very much, said, "No, go for it, do it for a while." So I did it for a while. So if you ever look at my TikTok, you'll see MC Biz Boom on a lot of those things. Now, this guy thought it was going to go viral. It really never went viral, but it did pick up some
Hmm.
traction. And ultimately, I did get some inquiries and get,
Hmm.
a few customers out of it, which was good. But
And you've
basically,
got to you've got to show your fun side of you,
mm-hmm,
right? Yes, people want to know you're competent. I also want to know people are instinctual. Yeah, okay. You are um you're qualified in the ABCs of what you do, right? But I want to know you're instinctual on how to use it. Right, that
that's
you
right.
are trusting what I call the knowingness when you are using it, and that wisdom of how to use the knowledge. Because when people are just spouting knowledge, it's something they've learned, they're reiterating it, and that's what they're passing on. But they're not connected to it, they're not intuitive with it. And when people have embraced what they've learned and now are sharing it with other people, they're sharing it in their own spice, right, in their own knowingness, and that is that then somebody else connects with it in the way that they need to know, but it's kind of passing that
Mm-hmm,
wisdom and knowledge on, and rather than knowledge for knowledge's sake, it's the wisdom of that knowledge. And whether you sell it through fun, or whether you do it through your work, not everybody wants somebody to be so serious. We've got to lighten up. I mean, one of the problems with society is we become so serious and so intense.
mm-hmm.
Let's lighten up a little bit, right? And I put out um, just little pictures and sayings. So that's my thing. I put them out there. Sometimes they're profound sayings, sometimes they're just goofy and fun, but it's kind of my way of kind of interacting. And it's like, find what it is that you have. Maybe you are the rapper. Maybe it is a snippets of wisdom, or maybe it's a song that you want to share. But what it does is it engage people into what I call the same frequency. And if you're on the same wavelength, you're in the same frequency, then you are going to want to interact with each other. And if you need that person's services, you can trust them because you're riding the same wavelength.
That's right. That's right. Before I say this next thing, and I want to make sure I remember what the next thing is. Oh, about being on the same wavelength. But you mentioned that how we get through. Everything always reminds me of a song, and you
Mm-hmm.
just said lighten up, and of
Mm-hmm.
course what's going through my head is lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just find a place and make your stand. Take it easy.
Yes. I then what happens with that is people kind of catch on to it, and
Hmm.
it lifts them up, and but at the same time profound words, right? And this is the thing, is that it isn't all about pitching, pitching, pitching. It's about inspiration begetting invitation. When you inspire, you invite, whether it's just to come and play in the same playground. And after a while they realize they need your services, or they don't need your services, but hell, they really like you. They're willing to refer you.
That's right.
Right. So, we've got to look at it, from different angles. Oh, I don't need your services. I don't need to listen. Hey, listen, you don't know what you're going to learn from it.
That's right. Uh, yeah, and it's even at those meetings that I was talking about earlier that I went to for a really long time. Although I've done business a few times with people in the room, 90% of what I got from that group was always, I know a guy.
Mm-hmm.
They themselves didn't use my services, but I
Yeah.
know a guy.
Yeah.
And that's important. You mentioned the same wavelength, and when I first started in business, and a lot of people fall into this, you want to take everything that comes along
Mm-hmm.
because you're worrying, am I going to be able to pay my bills this
Yeah,
month and stuff like
exactly.
that.
Can I
Yeah.
stay in business?
But then it goes back to the people who are going to try to negotiate by price
Hmm.
alone. And it goes back to people who that you just know you're not compatible with, price or
Yeah,
no price. I mean,
exactly.
yeah.
How can you
And
serve someone if you're not on that same wavelength, right?
that's right. And I don't deal with cranky, difficult people. And I've become, I've always been an empath, but as
Hmm.
I've gotten older, it's
Yes.
gotten more acute. And if I really don't resonate with somebody,
Exactly.
I just tell them in a kind way. I think I know a few people that might be able to help you,
Hmm.
and I can send you in that direction, but I don't think we're a good fit.
I think that's, where the wisdom comes in is like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say this one isn't for me. Or, you know what? Um, I know you really need somebody great. I'm sorry that I'm not able to serve you in the way that you need to be served, but let me put my hat on and let me look at who I can refer to you. But also, you may be looking at somebody that is so fixated on what they think they want, and there is no flexibility, right? How can you help someone, especially in building a website, is we want them to have a vision. We want them to know what they want to say and want to do. But if they're not going to listen to you, the expert, on how you can enhance what it is they're doing and give them something that supports what it is they're doing, because they're too rigid in what they want, you can't serve them.
That's right. Why, I had a client who does coaching for companies, different like mid-level managers and people like that have teams. And the bottom line was the teams, if the manager doesn't really get it out there right, the teams, if they're not on board with it, really won't do much to implement the strategy.
Right.
So, she had a very generic tagline in her hero section, and I suggested, is your team sabotaging your strategy? And I think for
Mm,
that level of management, that was great. She kept that up there for a week and said, oh, a friend of mine said that's too accusatory. So let's go back to what I had before. And I did try to explain what you had before is not attracting your audience. So,
mhm.
but then, I didn't build her site and I just did a few things for her, including tweaks that would have brought her closer to her customers. But she made that choice. So,
And
yeah.
a lot of people do fall back because of the pressure of everyone else. And I think if you know who you are and why it is what you're doing, you are at one with what you're doing, right? And you really do believe in what you're doing, and you find something that resonates with you. Ah, oh, well, I felt that. You're not going to let the outside influence come in and change your road, because you're secure in why you are going down this road. And if,
It,
for some people, they're new to business, they're new, they're still navigating. They're kind of twisting and shouting and tapping and dancing, finding their way and their route. And they're going to get the outside chatter. You've got to, you should, you do this, you do that. And you don't, how many people have told me the way I should do podcasting? But,
mm-hmm.
this is Sarah. Sarah only knows how to do podcasting the way Sarah does it. Have I perfected things along the way? Yes. Right. When you get comfortable, you grow. But we want you to be yourself. And when you feel that something connects and it really does make that statement of who you are, don't let outside influences in their own narrow thinking, shift you out of that perspective. Because when it clicks, it clicks.
For sure. I mean, as long as you know why
Mm,
you're taking a certain road and you feel confident that that's the road. Not that we're always 100% right about things. I
no,
mean, sometimes you know that you have to take that other road. Remember the road less traveled?
yeah, yes.
Two roads diverged in a wood.
I actually, I'm a personality spiritual coach. By design, and I have a program that I put people through, and it's a metaphorical journey with various obstacles and things. And it is always quite incredible at the end of it of how much, what each step means, and how many people just pay no attention to it. And, what they realize about themselves afterwards at the end of this journey is how much of themselves they're not integrating with. How much they're living the should life, the dictation life, the expectation life, and not listening to the signs of life. And in your own personal life, in your business life, little signs are going to come up all the time. Things are going to come up as an opportunity, and you go, well, I'm not sure if I should go down that way or if I should do this or do that, but feel it. If it feels like it becomes, you know what, I really should inquire more on this. I really should investigate more on this. Don't let the other should people come in and change your mind. Go with that feeling. You have no idea where it's going to take you. It might just be something to put on the shelf for future, but you'll know when to take it off that shelf. But be inquisitive, be wondrous in your life and in your work.
You're making me think of when Frodo told Bilbo, stepping out onto the road is a perilous
Mm.
situation because you never know where your feet are going to take you.
Exactly, exactly. But at the same time, as nervous and as anticipatory as we are, it's exciting.
Yes, it is. It is.
That's what life is about, traveling the road, exploring, new arenas, meeting new people along the way. The, the show's called Self-Discovery, folks, the self-discovery of your own wisdom that you gather along the way. And it's don't settle in one niche and go, that's it. I'm a nice, tidy little package now with a bow on it. It should always be about
That's
that
right.
growth, that expansion, that discovery of self, of what you have to offer, and whom it is you have to offer it to.
Right. Let me say one more thing about websites and a perspective that I have about them is that, you know, some say form follows function, and, and in a sense it does, but you could have the most beautiful site in the world. It can dazzle. It's got car chases, it's got
Mm.
scrolling photos, it's got everything. But if it doesn't have the things that we talked about, it's just inexpensive. It's a fancy
Yeah.
digital business card that maybe nobody's even looking at. But the next part that I want to say about that is that the content that's on that site has to be in sync with your brand, your
Mm.
why, your who, what
Mm.
you do, and who you serve. And that's very important. And that's my perspective. Put it all together. You have to have it all.
But you've also got to keep with the times and update. Do not have a stagnant site. Well, I've paid for it, it's built there now, I don't need to do anything with it. There must always be updating,
That,
whether you're updating events that you've done or this that you've done, whatever, it's keep it fresh.
that's why I like some of my clients to have blogs. And the blog has
Yeah.
its own blog page on the site.
Yes.
And it's easy enough for most of the people I deal with, even though they're WordPress Elementor sites that I
Hmm.
build. It's easy enough for them to go in, click new post. I
Yes.
show them how to put in pictures and how to put
Yeah.
in the word. And if they do that at least once a week,
Hmm.
at the very minimum once a month, but once a week's a little better for the algorithms,
Yeah.
it shows new content constantly on your site, which is
Exactly.
important.
And
Yeah.
you want to have a site that you can manage, right? Somebody's built you a site. If you've hired them to do all your updating and all of that, that's great. But for most of us, is that we want something we can use, is user friendly, right? So that you feel comfortable enough with adding a new event or adding this or, doing that. Because, how many times again do I go into a site and I know it hasn't been touched or even looked at in years?
That's right.
Because everything in it is kind of obsolete. Or their last big event was 2 years ago and they haven't taken it down.
Hmm. I have at times made little videos for my clients,
Hmm.
showing them how to work on their blog.
Hmm.
Or if we put in some kind of an event calendar,
Yeah.
showing them how to use that event calendar so they could put in new events all the time. Some of them just want me to do it.
Yes.
But others, they enjoy it. They want to take a little bit of time and do that. And for some of the younger folks, the startups,
Yeah.
they may not have the funds to keep paying somebody
Right.
to do these kind of things. But I always tell them, be very careful because you
Oh,
could go in and break your site. Do this. But if you have any questions about anything, come to me before you do it because,
before you do
yeah,
something catastrophic.
exactly.
And for the younger people who are generally more savvy on, adding, etc., etc., what they don't have the wisdom of is the template of what they need to have, right? The foundation of what their site should say. Now they've
Correct.
got the ability to go and do this and that, but if unless they understand what it is they need to do and how they need to represent themselves, that invitation, then they could just build, go crazy without creating a foundation in which to build on.
That's right. All the bells and whistles, but
Hmm.
no substance.
No roots, no substance, no content. Yes, and everybody looks at it and they've got whiplash, and like, what
You've
was that
got that right.
about?
You've got that
So,
right.
for a younger person who's starting out in business, we're seeing more and more entrepreneurs, young people today. And what I'm loving is that you've got a lot of very young people, but also very much our boomer plus generation. They've finished their corporate whatever career and now going into a career of passion and desire. And they want to still offer the services of all the wisdom that they've gathered along the way. So, whatever end of the spectrum it is, the wisdom people know what they want and how they want to be represented, but they may not have the ability to do it. You've got the younger people that have the ability to do it, but don't really know what to do. That is going to be something that will foundate, that will root and grow along with their vision. So it doesn't matter which spectrum them on, you can serve them all.
The last few months of my podcast were called. It started out during the pandemic as the Home Business Success Show,
Mm-hmm.
but then it became the Boomers to Zoomers Business Show. And basically, my philosophy was we all have so much to learn from each other. So instead
Absolutely.
of stereotyping the
Mm-hmm.
generations and putting each other down, let's embrace what we've got in common and see how what we can learn from each other. So yes,
Hence, a book I'm producing this year. 2 years ago, I put out Our Forgotten Children, an anthology in the raising of our children. This one is Our Forgotten Seniors, and where seniors are going to share their triumphs, everything that they have contributed along the way, but also the challenges of being a senior, which a lot of that is the stereotype and the lack of support and people wanting to put you out to pasture, but also the warning to the youth that if you don't start taking care of your seniorship now, it's going to be a wackaroo when you get there because you're not prepared. So,
that's correct. I am very encouraged by the youth entrepreneurship. And I
yes,
told a young man, I met a young man he's from Russia. I think I met him at Ben Albert's, one of Ben
yes,
Albert's
yes,
meetings.
Pro-Getters, yes, wonderful
Yeah.
platform.
This young man, I mean, he can't be more than 23 or 24 years
Mm-hmm.
old. He's got these big, inquisitive eyes, a
Mm-hmm.
smile on his face, but he's so sharp and so entrepreneurial. And I
Mm-hmm.
told him in one of the breakout rooms, if at your age I had a clue about what entrepreneurship really was,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very different right now.
Yes.
Things would be very different. But as boomers, we weren't taught that. We were taught go to college, get an education,
Yes,
find a
yes.
good
The
job,
lineage, the linear way.
stay with
Hmm.
it for a long time.
The
Now
gold
the
watch at the end of it.
now the young people are learning, yeah, if you want to go to college, but then start a business.
Yes.
Yes,
Well, the youngest person I interviewed was 10, who had written a book, 365 Days of Gratitude with a Positive Attitude. And every day
that's
was just something she'd been grateful for, having the right attitude. And then the oldest person I've interviewed was 92 and still has her own TV station and took a new lover at 90. Just it's just, the thing is, it ain't over until it's over. And but I did a series called Let's Get Synced, and I interviewed people about climate change, but the emotional change of climate in order to bring about climate change. And one of the people I interviewed out of an Arabian country, and I think he was 23. He's gone on to do exceptional things. A young man that just really, and his was about bringing to his country simple thing like sewage system, proper water irrigation and everything else. And at such a young age, he was so passionate and committed about it. And he's gone on to do some exceptional things. So all they need is structure as something to help them foundate in which to grow that enthusiasm and to make sure that that structure grows with them. They don't have the experience in knowing how to foundate, and that's where we come in.
why the generations need to talk to
Yes,
each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you serve any generation, it doesn't matter. You want to know their why in order to be able to. It's not just like, okay, give me your information, I'll make you a site. No, you want to know who they are. Is there synergy between you so that you understand what it is that they want and how to produce it? Are they flexible in the sense of your vision versus their vision? And are they committed to actually building this site and then afterwards using it as a springboard for their business? So if somebody is interested in this, no matter what the age or where they're at in their business, or they've already got a site but it's not working for them, what is the process that you go through?
Well, if you go to my website, Hank Eder, Eder,
Yes.
.com, you'll see basically what we offer and a little bit about myself and my calendar link. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Facebook, I'm on there as Hank Eder.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, I think it's Hank Eder One. TikTok, probably Hank Eder.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so you could find me on any of those things. I
And your
really,
podcast, where would they be for
well,
people to
they're on
listen?
my website. There's a part on my website that's called etc.
Right, the
And if
Zoomers to Boomers show and favorite links. Right.
that's
Wonderful.
right, yeah, so you can see some of those shows and some of the fun we had doing those shows. And one of them somewhere along the line, I can't tell you which one, was a panel discussion we had with somebody who was, myself as the boomer, then there was Gen X, and there was Gen
Mm-hmm.
Y, then there was, Gen Z. It was a lot of fun. We talked about stereotypes and
Mm-hmm.
we just had a good time. We did that live in front of an audience. So.
That's great. That's wonderful. I like those because you're feeding off the energy of the audience as well, which is really neat. So, it really, again, you feel that wavelength, which is wonderful.
One
You know,
thing, may I add this? If you do find my Calendly link,
hmm
then hop on my calendar for a 30-minute introductory. We'll get to know each other. We'll talk about each other's why. I'm not trying to sell you anything. We're just trying to see if we're in sync and how
hmm
we might be able to help each other.
And that Kennedy link is under contact us.
Yeah, it should be on my website. If not, I will
Right.
make sure it is because
I've
I
I've got
had
a slow internet here right now, so I clicked on contact, but it got twirly. So, um, but yes, nope. I think add it. I can't find it there. So,
you don't see
um,
it there. I did add Calendly to my repertoire later on after I built the website. So now
yes.
I've been told by one of my mentors that I'm like the cobbler with the hole in his shoe because I do everything for everybody else, but sometimes a little bit slow to
I,
get it
you,
together for myself.
mhm.
So,
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
but
And
now
my website is somebody set it up for me 12 and a half years ago, and it's the same template because I have so much content on there. I've got 3,800 shows, never mind how many other blogs and everything I've got up there. And and the trouble is changing anything is, banners have been put to a certain size and everything else. And it's just like so difficult to go in and kind of change it now. So I created another site, which is a little more modern, but it's difficult when you've been at doing something for a long time of to update it and change it in a way to keep it current when there is so much there. Because I remember, I've had a few people in the past I've hired to do this. One of the times I only had 2,800 shows at that point. And he said, "Oh, yeah, all your links are blown and all your graphics are blown. You're going to have to go in there and fix it." When they moved it over. And I said, "No, that's what I've hired you to do. No, you know." It's every time I've just had to walk away because it's not been what I've needed, not been functional. Their own idea, they've robbed, kind of what I wanted to do and then put their own agenda for. So to have somebody that truly listens to you that really understands what it is that you want to do, how you want to represent yourself and your business, that both are very, very clear, but has the expertise to bring you the polish and the ability to give you a site that speaks to all of that. I can tell you it's not easy. So having that hour with Hank, listening to the show, obviously, feeling that synergy, and then talking about what he can do versus what you want. And only from there will you know how to move forward. But you've got to have that conversation. You've got to get to know each other to know what, if you can do what it is they want.
Okay, I mentioned my website a few minutes ago, but
Hmm.
I didn't, that being hankeder.com, but probably the easiest way any of you can reach me, any listeners can reach me, is hank@hankeder.com. So, yeah,
Okay. Put the email in. I'll put that in, and we'll
very
definitely put it
good.
in there. So, it's been great having you here. And here we are at a new year. A lot of people are kind of very enthusiastic about 2026. I am, most certainly. I think this is the year where we're going to really see progressive change, more optimism, because nobody wants to go back to 2025. We want to embrace 2026 on our terms and our energy and our productivity. And so for people who have looked at, my site is out of date, or this is the time to start a business, or I've got something to share, whether you are a coach or whether you're a business, or maybe there's just some hobby or something else you want to share, right? It's like, set it up properly that it will grow with you, that it will represent you, and that it will reach the people that you want it to reach. Because we can't serve anybody if they can't find us or they don't connect with us. That's what's really important. We need everybody's voice this year. We need it to be illuminating. We need it to be encouraging. We need it to be empowering, and we need it to be uplifting. So whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing it from that heart and soul. And if you really need to renew and rethink on how you're doing it, talk to Hank.
Thank you, thank you. I see we are on the cusp of great change,
Oh,
and
yes.
that what is going to happen, and this is, of course, just my opinion, but it's what I've been receiving.
Hmm.
What is going to happen is going to be so surprising, and the world is going to be very, very different in
Yes,
some
thank God.
beautiful ways.
Over 8 years ago, the universe gave me a saying: I'm going to shake you up to wake you up, for you to step up and change it up and grow up vibrationally, but also as a human race, grow up. And we've had the shaken, we've had the waken, and when many of people are ahead on the changing, right? And many people are on the growing up. And so this is the year of what I call the common sense, rolling up the sleeves, putting things in action to really calm things down, put things on an even level. And it requires every single one of us to participate in whichever way we can.
Well, that's beautiful. I really want to thank you for taking this time to be here with me today.
My pleasure to have you here. Most certainly look forward to seeing you on Grow Getters. And it's a good time to look at your site and go, does it represent 2026? Does it represent my enthusiasm and where I'm going? Does it represent who I am today, not who I was yesterday? So, you can reach out to them and just say, hey, what do you think? All right. You never know where it can go from there. Just take that first step. That's the most important thing. So, thank you so much for being with us here today, Hank.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And to remember, everybody, you're here to listen, to learn, and apply. That's what life is about. Listen, learn, and apply. And what you've learned today, please apply, because we really want you to spread your wings and move forward in a positive way. So until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.